Music played softly from objects that couldn't possibly produce sound, as though the universe had hidden instruments in everything around you. The chair whispered in a deep hum, a lullaby woven from centuries of waiting. The window sang faintly, each raindrop on glass becoming a perfect piano note. The bookshelf rumbled in quiet chords, carrying the weight of forgotten stories. Even the silence vibrated, full of melodies no ear could capture. Music echoed from the corners, a rhythm older than the house itself. The doorknob chimed gently, like every entrance had left its own note behind. A broken cup hummed a mournful tune, a requiem for its shattered half. The walls pulsed with harmonies, as though painted with invisible choirs. A photograph vibrated softly, replaying laughter it once held. The table hummed in resonance with your heartbeat. The rug beneath your feet drummed like the memory of footsteps. Music seeped from the cracks in the floor, carrying voices from beneath. A single candle flame whispered high notes into the air. The air around you shimmered, every molecule strumming like strings. A locked drawer sang faintly, its secrets turning into melody. The old chair creaked into rhythm, joining the hidden orchestra. Even your reflection in the mirror hummed faintly, as though alive. The ceiling groaned like a cello bow stretched across time. A teacup rang clear when untouched, carrying phantom laughter. The dust and sunlight danced in rhythm, choreographed by unseen music. The floor sighed in a low hum, steady as a heartbeat. A forgotten shoe tapped out rhythm without moving. The curtains swayed in time, conducting with each fold. Even the air tasted like music, sweet and strange. The locked diary whispered a song you couldn't quite hear. A photograph frame vibrated like a harp string. The lamp's light flickered in time with invisible drums. The floorboard beneath your step hummed a single note. Music seeped from nowhere, filling everything. A glass bottle rattled faintly, singing ocean songs. The silence thickened, heavy with hidden harmony. A cracked vase moaned softly, its flaws creating melody. The door rattled in chords, each hinge a note. The walls carried voices, blending them into song. The candle hissed melodies as it burned low. A chair rocked gently, composing its own lullaby. The mirror trembled faintly with invisible choirs. A coin rolled once, chiming like a bell. The window pane shivered like a violin string. A drawer sighed like a distant flute. Even your breath fell into rhythm with the air. The shadows bent themselves into silent notes. The air vent whistled with uncanny melody. A photograph sang faintly of its moment. The curtain folded like sheet music in wind. A spoon vibrated faintly, singing of meals. The silence resonated like a giant drum. A feather drifted, humming softly as it fell. The air thickened into sound, almost touchable. A clock ticked melodies instead of time. The floor moaned harmonies under your step. A candle's smoke curled into rhythm. The table hummed deep bass notes steadily. The rug pulsed in waves of harmony. A broken lock hummed of doors unopened. The ceiling echoed like a hollow drum. A forgotten toy hummed ghostly nursery rhymes. The lamp buzzed like distant violin strings. Music filled silence like light fills darkness. A shadow tapped its rhythm silently. The walls groaned like an organ's breath. A photograph sighed softly in harmony. The night outside hummed with unseen choirs. A locked chest moaned with melody. The air trembled like piano strings struck. A book spine creaked into harmony. The chandelier tinkled in gentle rhythm. Even the silence itself had rhythm. A key hummed faintly of doors past. The bed frame groaned in low harmony. Music seeped like water through air. The mirror cracked in ringing tones. A chair leg tapped notes on the floor. The shadows swayed like dancers in music. A teapot hissed tunes of forgotten tea. The silence shimmered like chimes. A coin vibrated faintly in rhythm. The rug's threads hummed faint strings. A bottle whistled quietly of oceans. The door creaked up and down scales. A lamp hummed steady as a drone. Music clung like fog in the air. The floor trembled with invisible drums. A feather drifted humming like a violin. The silence thickened into layers of sound. A cracked plate rang faintly like glass. The night pulsed faintly in harmony. A chair hummed lullabies of ages. The shadows moved like percussion. Music breathed through the ceiling. A photograph trembled with notes. The rug swelled like ocean strings. The wind outside conducted the walls. A book whispered in chord tones. The silence quivered into harmonies. The doorknob rang like a bell. A clock sang instead of ticking. Music lingered in every object. The room itself became a choir. A table hummed lullabies of meals. The walls sighed like low organs. Even shadows pulsed like notes. The silence played symphonies. A cracked cup sang of its halves. A teacup sighed into melody. The lamp trembled faintly in tune. A spoon clinked into rhythm. The rug beat softly like drums. A curtain sang with folds. The ceiling hummed above. The silence thickened. Music clung invisible. A shadow pulsed. The door hummed. The walls sighed. A glass rang. The rug hummed. Silence sang. Music breathed. A key chimed. Shadows danced. The table groaned. A coin hummed. The chair creaked. The bed frames sang. A mirror hummed. The curtain swayed. The clock sang. A bottle hummed. The door sang. The air thrummed. The candle hissed. The silence hummed. A shadow tapped. The rug pulsed. A book sang. The walls trembled. Music echoed. The night hummed. A drawer sang. The lamp buzzed. Silence sighed. A coin sang. A vase hummed. The floor drummed. Music rang. Shadows moved. A chair sighed. The room sang. Clocks ticked backward when no one was watching, as if time itself grew tired of being linear. When the hands moved in reverse, you felt memories unraveling like threads from a fragile tapestry. Every tick backward whispered of choices unmade, roads untaken, and moments that never happened. The clocks seemed to carry their own secrets, counting down not to endings but to beginnings. If time could rewind without permission, what pieces of your past would return to haunt you? The backward ticking wasn't chaos. It was order in disguise, a reminder that time has more than one face. Perhaps clocks are liars, showing us only what we're ready to see, but hiding their true rhythm. Every reversed tick sounded heavier, as though the universe was swallowing its own mistakes. You wondered if you were the one moving forward, or if everything else was simply moving back. Clocks ticked backward, and for a moment you questioned if time had ever truly been real. The mirror hummed faintly, reflecting not just your face but your forgotten dreams. A candle flame flickered in rhythm, as though it danced to a secret song. The floorboards creaked not randomly, but in chords like footsteps on a piano. Even the silence had layers, harmonies woven into its stillness. Music echoed from the corners of the room, though no instrument was ever there. A locked box pulsed softly, each note a heartbeat waiting to be opened. The clock ticked not in seconds, but in melodies, marking time with lullabies. A cup of tea sighed, steam rising in notes too gentle for words. The rustling curtains played symphonies only the wind could conduct. A single stone hummed with vibrations older than language. The wooden table groaned like a cello string stretched across centuries. A chair rocked itself gently, singing lullabies of forgotten children. Even the shadows had rhythm, moving like silent percussionists. The wallpaper patterns shifted slightly, creating melodies in their curves. A key left on the shelf chimed without touch, remembering doors it once opened. The old lamp buzzed like a violin string, steady and mournful. Music clung to the air like perfume, invisible yet undeniable. A closed book trembled faintly, pages whispering a quiet hymn. The ceiling breathed sound, like it held hidden choirs above. Even the cracks in the walls sang, thin voices in perfect harmony. The floor beneath your feet pulsed like a hidden drum. A locked drawer sang softly, each note a secret it refused to reveal. The air itself thrummed with vibrations, as if the world had become an instrument. The shadows lengthened in rhythm, stretching like dancers in time. Even the dust motes rose and fell as if carried by sound waves. The clock hands strummed the hours like strings of a forgotten harp. A glass bottle hummed with a low note, as if the ocean still lived inside it. The staircase groaned a mournful ballad with every step you didn't take. The chandelier tinkled not with movement, but with music of its own making. Even the silence rang, as though sound itself had been carved into the air. A locked chest sang of treasures hidden, its melody too heavy for words. The window panes shivered, singing harmonies with the wind outside. A candle wick hissed a tune as it burned, each spark a fleeting note. The floor vibrated like an echo of footsteps from the past. Even the shadows in corners carried a bass line, deep and steady. A forgotten coat on a chair hummed softly, holding the rhythm of its owner's life. The mirror trembled faintly, singing back every voice that had stood before it. Music seeped from the cracks in the walls, like whispers trapped for centuries. A teapot rattled in rhythm, its steam composing lullabies. Even the silence between breaths carried a melody. The tablecloth rippled in waves, carrying sound like an ocean. A knife on the counter vibrated, ringing softly with unheard music. The old rug beneath your feet hummed as if woven with sound itself. A photograph sang faintly, as if each captured moment had its own soundtrack. The doorknob twisted gently, playing notes of arrivals and goodbyes. Even the shadows of books lined in shelves whispered their own harmonies. A cracked vase sang softly, its song more beautiful for its flaws. The empty glass chimed, holding echoes of laughter long gone. Music played from the air itself, born not from instruments but memory. A locked diary sighed, singing words it could never speak aloud. The floor hummed as if alive, each bore a note in a hidden symphony. A forgotten toy played melodies no human hand had wound. Even the walls themselves pulsed with rhythm, like veins carrying sound. The night outside joined in, crickets chirping to the silent orchestra. A single feather drifted down, humming as though wings had left music behind. The bed frame groaned not with weight, but with song. A rusted key on the floor hummed the memory of doors it once unlocked. Even your breath seemed to join in, exhaling harmonies into the air. The cracked ceiling hummed faintly, carrying echoes of storms long past. A glass of water trembled, vibrating in pitch-perfect tones. The shadows on the wall stretched, playing notes as they elongated. Music clung to the silence like secrets waiting to be discovered. The old door creaked in scales, each note higher than the last. A forgotten letter hummed softly, its ink carrying voices of the past. Even the wind paused, letting the hidden melody fill the air. A single chair vibrated faintly, as if it remembered all who had sat there. The curtain swayed, creating notes with every fold of its fabric. A faint rhythm pulsed from nowhere, yet it matched the beating of your heart. The candlelight flickered in tempo, dancing with shadows like music made visible. A cracked mirror hummed in dissonance, each shard singing alone. Music seeped through the ground, carrying stories buried beneath. The air vent whistled not randomly, but with melody, like a flute in hiding. A book fell open, its pages vibrating with sound unheard. Even your reflection seemed to hum faintly, as though you were part of the song. A coin rolled softly, chiming like a bell when it stopped. The teacup rang out when touched, as if porcelain carried a secret tune. A closed box on the shelf hummed, low and steady like a heartbeat. The silence grew heavier, as though filled with invisible sound. A clock chimed notes that no human ear had heard before. The floorboards sighed in rhythm, creaking into harmony. A hidden rhythm seemed to live inside every shadow. The chandelier above swayed in perfect time with the unheard music. Even the dust in the sunlight seemed to shimmer like notes. A locked cabinet whispered softly, each sound like a secret it kept. The fireplace crackled with rhythm, sparks singing in brief bursts. A cracked plate hummed with vibrations of every meal it once held. Music trembled through the air, though the room stood still. A forgotten shoe on the floor hummed the rhythm of steps it once knew. Even the silence hummed back, as if refusing to be outdone. The walls bent inward, humming harmonies that filled the room. A candle's smoke curled in rhythm, a visible song of ash. The night pressed close, humming with the rhythm of unseen choirs. Even the stars outside seemed to pulse in time with the hidden melody. A mirror cracked slowly, each fracture ringing like a chime. The room itself sighed, a long note of recognition. The air around you pulsed like a drum, though nothing moved. The silence broke not with noise, but with song. A chair leg tapped against the floor in rhythm, though no one touched it. The rug hummed faintly, each thread a string of its own. The old table buzzed like a double bass under unseen hands. A faint harp sound floated through the room without origin. Even the windows rattled softly like percussion. A locked drawer whispered softly in tune with air. The air itself sang, each molecule trembling with sound. A cracked wall moaned, deep and resonant like a bass line. The silence thickened, yet it carried endless harmonies. A faint whistle threaded through the stillness. Music seeped from the walls, blending with your breath. The ceiling trembled faintly, as though drums beat above. Even the stars flickered in rhythm with a hidden melody. A glass bottle shook gently, ringing with sound. The silence glowed, vibrating with unseen notes.